Hi, viewers. Today we are going to say Salesforce Business Analyst Certification Preparation Part 17. We are going to say document requirements in a version control repository to manage scope. A project delivered in Agile framework could go through a series of iterations, improving existing features and deploying new releases. To keep track of changes influencing the project scope and final deliverables, team members must manage project requirements. Version control system allows project collaborators to record and track changes in the project files. Teams working with the version control systems may select the preferred version control type, centralized version control or distributed version control. Git is an example of a distributed version control application and is recommended by Salesforce as a version control system for project delivered on a platform. Version control system allow teams to record and track changes in the project software code files. Centralized version control system, a central copy of the project repository, is where user apply changes directly to the main branch of the project. Distributed version control system, full project repository is cloned and distributed among all team members working on the project. Git is an example of a distributed version control tools used to manage project files. GitHub is a service provided for Git-based version control repository. Requirement management. In Agile framework, projects are delivered through a series of iterations that update or improve existing features and release new deployment. Significance of requirements management. Project delivered on a Salesforce platform tend to evolve with each iteration they go through. Project teams must respond to new requirement request for modification to existing functionalities and regular product release. To keep track of all changes influencing the scope and deliverables of the project, team members must manage project requirements. Benefits of requirements management. Requirement management ensure that the project collaborators recognize at latest iteration of the project and apply changes to the correct version. Version control system allow teams to record and track changes in the project software code files. Source of truth. Version control repository becomes a source of truth for all changes, release, and existing functionalities related to the project. Previous version of the code are easily accessible by developers to be restored if newly introduced feature file. Audit trail, all changes and identifying information about who introduced them to the project are stored in the version control tool. Version control tools offer backup to prevent loss of existing functionalities. Project historical data may be required for certain business to comply with legal regulation. Audits are also useful when new team members review the state and previous stage of the project. Benefits of version control. Version control system mitigate the navigate negative effects of human error and ensure that the changes applied to project files are peer reviewed. Managing parallel development streams. Large teams working on one project face challenges related to parallel work being delivered by developers working on a same features. Version control can be used to prevent overwriting work with that collaborate to perform at the same time. Managing project complexity. Version control tools is rollback if it is required to return to the previous state of the project. Teams are also motivated to release new features more frequently in safe environment, not affecting production. Managing project risk. Version control tools provide each team members with visibility into the current state of the work. When adding required modification, each team members can validate the as a state to ensure no risk or present. Types of version control. Team working with the version control system may select the preferred version control type. Centralized version control system, a single central copy of the file repository exist and all user apply changes directly to the main branch of the project. Distributed version control system. Full project repository is cloned for every team members working on the project. Centralized version control system. uh, Release on one central copy of the project files, including all previous version. Central copy of a project files. All changes made by developers are added to the central copy, and developers can only download the latest version of the project file to their computer. A full copy of the project does not exist locally. Advantage of CVCS. CVCS follows easier workflow and is more understandable, as developers do not need to navigate through a series of steps to add their changes to the project repository. Distributed version control system ensure that the project collaborators have a full copy of the entire project repository at any time on their local computer. Distributed copy of a project files. Instead of having a single centralized copy of the project repository, every team member has access to the full copy of the entire project history on their local device. Collaborators do not need to rely on a single backup, as multiple copies of the repository exist across their workstation. Advantages of DVCS ensure that collaborators work in feedback loops and can quickly review each other code to mitigate risk and conflict. Git is one of the available distributed version control application. Version control for Salesforce project. Git is a free open source tool used worldwide to manage project files. Salesforce recommend using Git as a version control system for project delivered on a platform. Copy of the enterprise repository. Git provide every project collaborators with a copy of the entire project repository available for them at any time on their local computers. Key terms in Git. With Git project, collaborators can track all changes applied to project files. Repository. Containers used to store all project files. Branch. Environment used by developers working on new features. Branches a separate production environment containing live data and sandbox. Commit. Um, Changes applied to features developers are working on that are submitted to a branch. Merge. Process of combining two branches into one, performed for examples when a feature is ready to be moved to the production environment. Pull request. Collection of a commit a team member would like to merge to the master branch. Pull requests are reviewed and approved by other team members. GitHub is a service provider for Git-based version control repository. Collaboration tool. GitHub offer a collaboration environment for developers working on the same project. Multiple collaboration can perform tasks related to the same piece of code and push all changes to one project repository. Revision history. All changes applied by any team members are visible in GitHub. Previous version are continuously available in the tool if there is a need to return to a previous iteration. GitHub accounts for organization. GitHub Premium account provide advanced feature for developers working in large organization to offer an option to control the access to specific repository by granting user permission. We can see some scenarios. Developers who used to work with a GitHub in the past start a new project at a Cosmic Innovation and work with the work and would like to ensure that all version of changing requirement and new request will be recorded and trackable in the future. If new release fail, they would like to quickly restore the previous one from the backup. What version control system will developer utilize in this scenario? Developers will be working with the distributed version control system. Every project collaborators will have the access to the full copy of the entire project history on their local device. Collaborators will not need to rely on a single backup, as multiple copies of the repository will exist across their workstation. These are all the some documents for review. Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe my channel. Thank you.